Hello everyone, Tasty Waffle here. Alright, today's feature, my top 20 favorite films of all time. Now, this is not a list of what I think are the best films I've ever seen. This is a list of my favorite films, which means I will never get tired of watching them, and there's always something wonderful about them that keeps me coming back every time. As always, I would recommend all of the films on this list, as I think they are all very good films. Some of them are certainly among the greatest films ever made, but that would be a separate list entirely. So, sit back and relax and enjoy my top 20 favorite films of all time. BenHur, directed by William Wyler. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more epic film than this. This truly defines the Roman epic, and its influence has been seen in films such as Gladiator and other really large-scale Roman epics. But BenHur stands alone as the best Roman epic I've ever seen. This is adapted from Lew Wallace's book, BenHur, A Tale of the Christ, with so much pomp and just larger-than-life nature. This is a wonderful film. It has a lot of redeeming values. It has a really good heart to it, that despite all the larger-than-life epic, it has a very human heart at its center, and a very good story, and a very beautiful story as well. Charlton Heston won an Oscar for this, giving a very larger-than-life performance, as he was wont to do. This film is tied with Titanic and Lord of the Rings: Return of the King for the most Oscars ever won by a single film, with 11. So, BenHur, directed by William Wyler. How to Train Your Dragon, directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. What an outstanding film this is. We've seen films about a boy and his dragon before, but this one I think is the best. The thing that really got me hooked onto this movie was the fact that for a DreamWorks production, it is unusual in that it is completely devoid of pop culture references, and there was no marketing of the voice actors' names like DreamWorks is wont to do. This is a wonderful film, brilliant visuals, great characters, great music, a wonderful story. Some very inventive things about this film. You know, when I saw this movie, I didn't have a clue about it, and I was completely taken aback at just how good it is. And for me, it gets better every time I see it. So, How to Train Your Dragon, directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. Mary Poppins, directed by Robert Stevenson. You know, I grew up watching this film, and as I keep watching it, now that I'm older, I have come to appreciate just how brilliantly done this film is. Julie Andrews, in her debut performance, won the Academy Award for Best Actress for this wonderful film. You know, this is a great film that people of all ages can enjoy. And, you know, I remember liking it as a kid, but now I think I like it even more as an adult, because I realize just how wonderful a film this is. A very heartwarming story, wonderful characters, great songs, a great musical score, very nostalgic. This brings back memories of growing up, and I feel that this is movie magic, the likes of which we don't see very often. This is a wonderful film. It was nominated for 13 Oscars, winning 5 of them. This was just one of those films that defined a generation and has continued to touch many generations after it. So, Mary Poppins, directed by Robert Stevenson. Amadeus, directed by Milos Forman. What a brilliant, hilarious, and incredibly dark film this is, featuring top-notch performances from an outstanding cast. This film received 2 nominations for Best Actor. One for Tom Hulce, who portrays Mozart, and one for F. Murray Abraham, who plays his rival, Antonio Salieri. Abraham won the Oscar for Best Actor. This film won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. This is an absolutely brilliant film that I cannot think of any film that compares to it. This is the film about how the genius of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart aroused the ire of his rival, and how Salieri, his rival, felt cheated that God had given such a gift to such an unworthy little man. This film is funny, dark, sad, and brilliant. You don't really have to know anything about classical music to enjoy this film. This features some of Mozart's more famous themes and some of his lesser known themes, and gives us a glimpse into the genius of Mozart. This film is, however, not historically accurate, not to be taken literally, but it is worth every minute, and if you have not seen it, this is the one film you cannot go without seeing. So, Amadeus, directed by Milos Forman. Ratatouille, directed by Brad Bird. This is my favorite of the Pixar films. I don't think it's the best Pixar film, but it's my favorite. Remy the rat wants to be a chef, and he's portrayed as an artist. Making great food is making great art. I think the reason why this film speaks to me is because Remy is an artist, and this is one of the greatest portraits of an artist we've ever had in cinema. And that's why I feel so engrossed by this film. I don't have a clue how to cook, but like Amadeus, you don't need to understand what the movie is about to understand the movie. With Amadeus, you don't need to understand music to appreciate the movie, and with Ratatouille, you don't need to understand cooking to appreciate the movie. So, if you have not seen Ratatouille, see it. I find that I'm in the minority of those who really like this film, but I find that because it takes its audience so seriously, and because it's such a brilliant portrait of an artist, it really drew me in. Ratatouille, directed by Brad Bird. Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Steven Spielberg. What a great film this is, with that old-timey sense of adventure that we have seen people try to imitate, but this film does it the best in capturing that 1930s sense of adventure. I think the whole idea of biblical artifacts with supernatural powers is brilliant, and that's one of the reasons why I find this film so fascinating. Is I really enjoy any kind of film that involves sneaking into old ruins and finding ancient treasures. This one is the best of that formula. Harrison Ford gives a great performance here. He's along with a very fascinating and wonderful cast. Bad guys, of course, are the Nazis, and I think we'll never get tired of seeing them as bad guys. This film just has everything going right for it. It's a thrill ride. It's a great adventure, showing us why Steven Spielberg is such a genius. If you are one of the few who has not seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, see it. You will not be disappointed. Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Steven Spielberg. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, directed by Nicholas Meyer. This is considered by many fans to be the best of the Star Trek films, and I agree. This is a very dark, very witty, very literary film, featuring references to Moby Dick, Paradise Lost, and even A Tale of Two Cities. Star Trek has always been big on literary references, and I think that this film is great because it's almost like a sci-fi version of Moby Dick. Ricardo Montalban gives a great performance as Khan. You can't go wrong with Ricardo Montalban. He always seemed to relish every word he was saying, and just made him fascinating to watch and to listen to. A great Star Trek film needs a great villain, and Khan is the best of them all. If you have not seen the Star Trek series, Star Trek the motion picture is pretty forgettable. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is where you should start. This is the best film in that series, and a brilliant sci-fi film even if you're not a fan of Star Trek. So, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, directed by Nicholas Meyer. The Music Man, directed by Morton DaCosta, starring Robert Preston as the con man Professor Harold Hill. This is a great old-timey piece of Americana. This is based on Meredith Willson's stage musical of the same name. I actually prefer the movie to the stage musical. Usually when it comes to musicals, I think that all stage versions are going to be better, but in the case of The Music Man, I favor the film. This is a great film about the joys of small-town America, featuring great songs, a great cast, great laughs, and great heart. If you're not really a fan of musicals, you might not enjoy this film, but I think that it has such charm that everyone could probably enjoy this film on some level. This is a film that the whole family can enjoy. This is a film that just brings back that old-timey feeling of America in a more carefree age. So, The Music Man, directed by Morton DaCosta. Citizen Kane, directed by Orson Welles. Considered to be the best American film, and one of the best films ever made, I cannot disagree. This film is absolutely brilliant. It's hard to believe that Orson Welles directed this film when he was younger than I am now. He was 26 years old when he made the film. This is an absolutely outstanding picture that has set the bar for excellence in American cinema, and I don't think that will ever be broken unless some miracle in filmmaking comes around. This film was not well received when it came out, but has since gone on to be considered the greatest American film. If you have not seen this film, see it. This is one of those films that you absolutely cannot live without seeing. This is just so brilliant on so many levels that it would take me forever to talk about them all. So, Citizen Kane, directed by Orson Welles. Singin' in the Rain, directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. Like The Music Man, this is another great piece of Americana, talking about the transitional era between silent film and talkies, and doing it in a very funny, very inventive, very engrossing way. This features some great songs, great dance numbers, some great performances from a brilliant cast. This film is also fun for the whole family. I remember watching it as a kid, and I think as I've grown up, I've appreciated it more. I remember being a kid getting pulled in by a lot of the physical humor, but I think as an adult I'm able to appreciate just how well put together this film is. This is another one of those films that I was raised on. This is just so much fun, with so much energy, and so much heart to it, and it just draws you in, and it has the songs running through your head all the time. And that's a good thing, because these are songs that are worth remembering. So, Singin' in the Rain, directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen.